Coldest weather in a long time will be coming to the United States over the next few days, and this is really going to impact areas like the Midwest, Ohio Valley, and the Northeast the most significantly, but we're also going to be watching for the potential for some isolated severe weather in areas like the Ohio Valley and Northeast, the potential for waterspouts across the Great Lakes, and we are watching 5 different areas across the Atlantic Ocean with at least a low chance of development into a tropical storm or hurricane over the next 7 days. So in today's forecast, we're going to break down exactly what you need to know about the weather for the next 7 days across the entire United States. We are going to begin with what's happening across the United States right now, and overall there's been plenty of showers and thunderstorms across the Gulf Coast over the last really several days now. We've had this band of basically a stationary frontal boundary that's extending from Texas back into Florida, and a lot of showers and thunderstorms have been lining up right along that boundary for the last couple of days, and that trend is going to continue into this weekend, especially for Florida, Louisiana, southern Alabama, and Mississippi, and we even could see a small little tropical depression or storm form just south of Louisiana sometime over the next couple of days. So that'll be something to watch for. We even had a tornado warning in southern Louisiana around 9:45 p.m. last night. That is the first tornado warning that we've had since Wisconsin back at the end of August, on August 29th. So pretty crazy stuff there. Also, we've had some showers and storms that even fired up back over near Kansas City last night. We actually had some right before the Kansas City Chiefs and Ravens game. A little bit of lightning in the area, but most of that was pretty quick going. Back over in the Northeast, things are quiet for now, but we are going to see an increase of activity over the next 48 hours as showers and thunderstorms will be possible, and that is all thanks to a low pressure system that will develop back over in the Great Lakes as we go throughout the day today. For today, we are watching for the potential for some isolated severe weather in areas like Ohio and Pennsylvania. This is what it looks like this morning. We got some showers and a couple of thunderstorms right along Lake Erie and into northwest Ohio. As we go later into the day today, right around lunchtime, I wouldn't be surprised if we do get a couple of storms that attempt to organize, with mainly a threat for isolated damaging winds and hail. Wouldn't rule out a brief tornado, though, somewhere in northeast Ohio or northwest Pennsylvania. By around 3 to 4 o'clock this afternoon, these storms will continue to move eastbound. I wouldn't even be surprised in southern Ohio if we end up getting maybe an isolated tornado threat there as well. Just something to watch for. Not really super concerned about this, but we are going to be watching this throughout the afternoon in case we do have to go live. By the time we get closer to 5 to 6 o'clock, storms will be mostly just scattered anywhere from New York back into Kentucky and Tennessee. A lot of this, though, will mostly just be rain. I don't really forecast a whole lot more of severe weather after about 5 or 6 o'clock. And then as we go into the evening hours, eventually into Saturday, we'll be watching for some more showers across many states. But as we go into the afternoon Saturday, we'll have another round of some isolated severe weather in eastern New York, parts of New Jersey, and then maybe even in parts of northern Delaware. And those storms will eventually move towards Long Island and Connecticut and Massachusetts before they fall apart right around 5 to 6 o'clock. Another isolated damaging wind threat will be in the forecast. Now let's talk a little bit more about the entire lower 48 over the next 7 days and give you an idea of what's going to be happening, because there's a lot of components to the forecast over the next several days. We got 2 different little tropical systems that could develop within the next 24 to 48 hours. One near Texas, one back off just to the southeast of New England. The good news about this one is that this one is moving away from the United States. It'll be going towards Nova Scotia. I don't really think this is going to develop into much of anything because there's just so much wind shear out there, but there will be a potential for some heavy rainfall in Nova Scotia this weekend. This system is a little bit more interesting. I think overall, since it's right along the frontal boundary, we could see it develop into something. I think it's going to be mostly just consistent, though, of a lot of rain for the Gulf Coast over the next few days. If this does become organized into a tropical system, I think what we'll be talking about is just a higher amount of rainfall totals in southern Louisiana. That would be the main concern. As we go into late Friday, we'll be watching for showers and thunderstorms again across Canada, back into parts of the Ohio Valley. By the time we go into Saturday, we'll continue to watch for more and more rain to dump across the Gulf Coast. We might even see another little tropical system attempt to develop just east of North Carolina as we go into Saturday afternoon and eventually into Sunday. So something else to watch for there. That's if we can see 2 different low pressure systems kind of split apart from each other. It is a possibility, by the way. Once we go into Sunday, we'll be watching for some more rain in New England. That little system will move to the northeast, not really impacting the United States. We'll also be watching just south of Texas to continue to watch for more showers and thunderstorms along the Gulf Coast. The good news is as we go into the next week, we're going to be dealing with a very dominant ridge across a very large chunk of the lower 48, meaning that most places will not be dealing with much of any rain as we go into early next week, unless you are near the Gulf Coast, which in that case, you'll be talking more about more rain. Once we go into mid to late next week, overall, the weather still remains pretty quiet. I could see by next weekend our next severe severe weather event being somewhere over in the Great Plains. I'm not really sure where yet, but we are likely to have our next trough ejection sometime at the tail end of next week, if not by next weekend. If that does happen, we could see the return of severe weather. What that entails is very uncertain though at this time, as it is just so far out. Now, there will be a lot of rain over the next week or so, especially if you're back down near the Gulf Coast. Look at this over the next 7 days in terms of total rainfall accumulation. We are going to be talking about the potential for significant rainfall and potentially significant flooding back over in southern Louisiana, and we could see anywhere from 4 to 8 inches of rain from southeast Texas back into parts of the panhandle of Florida. Aside from that, look at the gaping hole that we have across a very large chunk of the mid-Atlantic back into the central and northern plains. There's going to be a lot of areas that see very little to no rain over the next 7 days. Now, the European model does indicate by like the weekend we could see rain in like Oklahoma, Missouri, Arkansas, and as well as Kansas, but that's going to be dependent on if a tropical cyclone tries to develop in the Northwest Gulf, which the European model is a bit more bullish towards that. And if that does end up happening, we could see a solution like this, but it's very uncertain, as that is still about 7 days out, and tropical systems in general can be very difficult to predict. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about the waterspout potential as we go into the weekend, and we're really talking about tonight into Saturday morning for the greatest chance for waterspouts across mainly Lake Michigan, Lake Erie as well being the two main targets, I think, for the waterspout potential. This is because we have a very deep area of cold air that is sitting in the higher altitudes, and this mixes with the very warm lake waters that we have, and this creates an environment where waterspouts will be a potential this weekend, predominantly though I think tonight into Saturday morning. The good news about this event is that a lot of the time when we have waterspouts, they do not usually go inland, especially in this sort of climate or environment, but it is something to watch for. And if you are right next to the lake, maybe in like western Michigan or even in eastern Michigan or northern Ohio, you might end up seeing a waterspout sometime over the next 24 hours. So definitely something that might be cool, but obviously make sure that you're staying safe. Now, the temperatures across the country over the next several days, they're going to be very cold, at least for this time of the year. If you're back over in the Midwest or the Ohio Valley, look at this cold pocket of air that's going to arrive tonight into Saturday across the Midwest, the Great Lakes region, back into the Ohio Valley. This is all on the backside of a low pressure system. The bad news about this is that if you like this type of weather, it's not going to last long, because by Sunday into Monday, that cold air is all moving into the Northeast, and it really starts to fizzle back over in the Midwest and the Ohio Valley by Monday, and that warm air is going to start to return again as we go throughout the week. Now, on the flip side of things, we are going to have some below average temperatures that are going to continue across Texas and Oklahoma, and really up and down the entire east coast of the United States. So some good news there if you like some cooler weather, some like fall type weather, at least early fall type weather. This is what we're looking at by Wednesday into Thursday. Look at the warm air just build right back into the Midwest, Ohio Valley, and the Great Plains. Above average temperatures will return by the weekend, if not even by the tail end of this upcoming week. Low temperatures for tomorrow morning, very chilly back up in parts of Wisconsin and Minnesota, where our first freeze of the season will be possible. In northeastern Minnesota, we could have low temperatures that dive into the low 30s overnight tonight into tomorrow morning. We'll also have some upper 40s and low 50s across parts of Ohio. By Sunday morning, those temperatures will start to fall in the Northeast and back into the Ohio Valley, but the cold air will not be nearly as strong or intense. Most areas still in the 40s. Some higher elevations could be in the upper 30s back over in parts of West Virginia. Climate Prediction Center for the next several days from Wednesday of next week until Sunday, still indicating above average temperatures in the forecast across a large chunk of the Great Plains, the Midwest, Ohio Valley, and Northeast. On the flip side of things, below average temperatures will likely continue if you're anywhere from Texas back into North Carolina. Precipitation in terms of rainfall is going to continue to stay below average across the Ohio Valley and Northeast as we go into the middle and end of next week. So this doesn't include what we're seeing this weekend, and then back over along the Gulf Coast, things are going to stay relatively active, I think, there. The tropics are continuing to look very, very, I don't even know. Like, I don't even know how to explain this anymore. We have 4 areas of development right now. We did have 5. We have dropped down to 4 again. These are all low chances of development. And for, you know, almost mid-September now, we have really nothing out there right now. We do have 4 areas of potential development. These are all low chances, at least a 30% chance or less of development over the next 7 days, with the 2 most concerning being the ones that are near the Gulf of Mexico or in the Gulf of Mexico. Even then, these do not look very concerning concerning, at least in terms of major development. We are still watching the one just off coast of Texas that could develop over the next 48 hours, but mostly looks like a rain threat. And then the one that's going to be entering into the Gulf of Mexico here soon, that's going to cross the Yucatan this weekend, still has a low chance of development as we go into next week. We have another area of development just west of Africa. That one does not look organized, does not look very concerning right now. And then our other one just east of North Carolina that actually looks kind of impressive. It at least has around tropical storm force winds, but it is just so sheared off right now that it is not considered a tropical cyclone as of right now. Now, the one system that we have just off the coast of Texas and Louisiana over the next 48 hours is still not really likely to develop into anything too crazy, but I do think over the next 48 hours, we're going to continue to see plenty of rain across really the Louisiana coast, both today and probably tomorrow. The HRRR model does have this moving a bit to the southeast over the next 48 hours. In that case, if that does happen, I think the rainfall totals that the European model was depicting will probably be way lower. If it kind of sits just off coast and doesn't really move much, I could see there being 4 to 8 inches of rain in many areas right along the immediate coastline. Now, the ensembles across the entire Atlantic Ocean still continue to show at least some, minimal signs of development, maybe in the Gulf of Mexico or just off the coast of North Carolina over the next couple of days. And we also have that tropical wave that's coming off Africa, but again, no signs of anything major as of right now. We'll obviously continue to keep a close eye on the tropics, but for right now, no reason to be super concerned if you're in the United States. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to hit the like button down below and subscribe if you've not already.